Hi, we're here with Thomas Whitby, who is the co-author of The Relevant Educator, How Connectedness Empowers Learning. He was a secondary English teacher for 34 years, an adjunct professor at St. Joseph's College for 6 years. And although retired, he certainly is far from inactive. He's the co-creator of the very popular and empowering EdChat on Twitter and has 58,000 followers on Twitter. Tom, I'm interested from our conversations in how we are preparing teachers to teach today. What's wrong with it and what could be right with it?
Well, I concentrate quite a bit on professional development and how it really has to change. I think as educators, we've been practicing professional development for decades now. And if in fact it was working in the form that it's in, we wouldn't be having all of these discussions about education reform. The whole idea is that things have changed and continue to change so rapidly because we're in a computer-driven society that the type of PD that was set up in the 19th and 20th century is not serving us well in the 21st century. We're different types of learners today. We're different types of educators today. And unless we address the 21st century methodology that we need, we're not going to make as much progress as we should be making. We can't keep up with the methodology of the 19th and 20th century and apply it to what we do in the 21st century. We can't fit that methodology into the use of technology, for instance. Too often we look at technology, we try and fit it into the way we've been teaching, and it calls for a completely different model, not what we've been doing for the last decades.
So tell me about the model as you see it.
Well, one of the things that technology has enabled us to do is pretty much get control over our own learning. We can direct our own learning, and we know. In some respects, we do know what we need to know as educators, and by connecting with other educators through technology, we can collaborate and certainly find out more than we're able to find out just from our colleagues in our own building. So the idea of connecting with educators and developing personal learning networks takes us beyond our buildings and takes us beyond our districts, beyond our states, beyond our country. We can have global connections to see what other educators around the world are doing and what their successes are and what their failures are, so that we can apply it to what it is we do. And we can direct our own learning that way. And then the other side of that coin is that we don't know what it is that we don't know. So by having these connections and talking to people and seeing what else they're doing, we're discovering things that would work in our own class, in our own environment.
You know, I'm seeing a parallel in what you're saying to a lot of what we're hearing about the role of informal learning for students who have access to technology and who are connecting with the things that interest them outside of school. I think what I hear you saying here is that there are opportunities such as EdChat, for informal learning among educators who, after all, they've gone to school, they've got full-time jobs. It's not easy for them to be full-time students and full-time educators as well.
Well, hopefully all of our educators are also full-time students. We use as a goal, just about any school you go to in the country, you say, what's the goal of education? And the goal of education is to develop lifelong learners. And you'll see that in mission statements in every school in the country. But what they fail to do is apply that to their own faculty. You know, you want your own faculty to be lifelong learners as well. And too often, people envision themselves as educators. They go to college to become educators. They get their degree. They get a job, and then all of a sudden the learning stops. And we can't have that in today's society because things are changing too rapidly. At one time, when change was slow, it was okay for a teacher to to hold on to being a content expert and standing up in front of the room because they were the experts. But today things change so rapidly that you can no longer be an expert unless you're keeping up with what's going on and staying relevant. And that's what the idea of being connected enables many of us to do. By being connected to educators, it gives us relevance. We don't have those, the print journals that used to come out to talk about education are not being printed in the numbers that they were printed before because print media is going by the wayside. So how do we as educators get the information that we need in order to be professional, in order to stay relevant? And that's, we're seeing that happening through connectedness and collaborative learning. And we've always had collaborative learning from the beginning of time, but collaborative learning had to be face-to-face. You had to be in the same space at the same time with people, and technology has become the game changer there. Technology has enabled us to go beyond the boundaries of both space and time to make the connections that we have to make.
Well, let's talk about a specific example. How did EdChat get started, and what happens in EdChat?
Well, EdChat started. Twitter was always. This goes back, I guess, 6 years now. Twitter was always a way to provoke discussions with people, and that's what I did quite a bit. I would post questions and get people answering it. And if you were on Twitter at the time, you actually got to see what was going on. But if you were not on that timeline, you were not involved with the conversation. So I was working with Shelley Terrell and Stephen Anderson at the time. We were just connected friends, and we used to involve ourselves in these discussions. So they said, wouldn't it be great if we had a certain time that we could get more and more educators involved with a specific topic? And that's when we came up with the idea of EdChat. So we created EdChat to start on a Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock because that's what was convenient for me. So it was 7 o'clock Eastern time, and we put out a topic. And the first EdChat that we had several hundred educators on talking about that topic. So then Stephen Anderson came up with the idea of putting out a poll of different topics so people could get to choose the topics. And we did that, and it became even more popular. We were having almost 1,000 educators from all over the world talking about these. And then we started getting requests from people saying, we're staying up till all hours of the night trying to follow these EdChats, but it's killing us by staying up. And that's when I realized that we're not local, we're global. And these were the educators from Europe and educators from Asia that were trying to follow the EdChat conversation. So rather than change the time, what we did was we added a second EdChat. So we made that noon time, Eastern time. So we have two EdChats now every Tuesday, one at noon and one at 7 Eastern time. And basically, we've been doing this for 6 years. So the only time we ever take off is the time between Christmas and New Year's.
So to join an EdChat, you search on the hashtag EdChat at that time?
EdChat. Yeah, EdChat has actually gone more than just a chat now. It's become the hashtag it's the number one hashtag for education tweets. So if you've got an education tweet that you want to, something important that you want to tweet out about education, by adding that EdChat hashtag onto your tweet, it extends the range of your tweet so that it not only goes out to your followers, but it goes out to any educator following that EdChat tweet. And there are literally thousands of educators who follow it. But in order to participate in the tweet, the best way to do it is to follow that hashtag on its own column. And you would do that by creating a column for EdChat for hashtag EdChat in TweetDeck or Hootsuite. There are a number of third-party applications that you could use, so that once you start to follow that specific hashtag, it isolates that hashtag from all other hashtags or all other tweets, so that it becomes a conversation in real time. And every tweet that you would put out in relation to that, as long as you've got that hashtag on it, it appears. And then once the hour chat is over, we archive the chats, and they're all housed on a website that we've got. So you can go back 6 years to see some of the older EdChats that we have.
What's the URL for that website?
I don't know.
Okay, you know what? Well, we'll find it and we'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
So, that's kind of like a continuous connection, like an incoming stream of opportunities to participate. And I did interview Shelley Terrell around personal learning networks. It seems like this is sort of a superset of personal learning networks. It's like a personal learning community from which you can forge connections with other educators and create relationships that turn into your personal network.
Yeah, during right now since EdChat there are about somewhere between 300 and 400 chats that are going on globally. Where just about every country has got their own chat. In the United States, just about every individual state has its own chat. Then there's chats by subject. There's social studies chat, English chat, new teacher chat, parent chat. So the chats have really taken off. And one of the things that I like about it is that within the chats, you are discovering people to follow on Twitter all the time. If somebody interests you and they're coming up with valuable comments, those are the kinds of people that you want connections with. So you begin to follow them on Twitter. The other thing is the traffic on blogs or blog posts the next day that have been influenced by these chats, because oftentimes the topics within the chats people didn't give much thought to, and once they start seeing that there is an interest in the subject, that they start hearing the different points of view on any given subject, blog posts are generally generated from these chats, and that's where the real learning takes place.
Well, thanks, Tom. This is very useful, and I hope that it offers a way for educators who are looking for informal learning to find this community and their networks and you. So go to it.
Thank you very much.